I would argue if I showed up on your doorstep tomorrow, you would put me in a tax-free zone.
Make your argument.
I'm making my argument. $105 million in income into a county? We'd be putting up a big plaque outside a development and saying, we welcome you here. Come on in. We'll give you some incentives and hope you locate here and bring that kind of employment. These are living wage jobs.
Several years back, I asked Deputy Administrator Eckenberg to take record for workshops for several, a year and a half ago, Karen? 2 years ago, something like that. We keep that as an official record of these meetings. Any other recording of these meetings is not an official record.
This is a follow-up to actually a January 20th, 2009 Commissioners Workshop, a similar setting, where the topic of FEMA trust was discussed at some length. With that, I'd like to turn this over to Chairwoman Karen Diver of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa.
Thank you very much.
The Fond du Lac Band existed, to our oral history, for quite a long time, and obviously have been in this area for quite a long time, actually all along the Great Lakes region.
Steady.
We went on to sign another 5 treaties before the one in 1854, the Treaty of La Pointe, which predated the existence of St. Louis County and the state of Minnesota. And it was actually through the ceding of land in the Treaty of La Pointe, along with other reservations or tribes in the state signing their treaties, that allowed for the creation of the state of Minnesota. It wasn't until the Indian Self-Determination Act was passed that tribal governments were actually allowed to be self-governing. They had some level of kind of local control and implementation, but it was at that point that tribes, as long as they could prove they could have capacity, could start taking control of their own service delivery within their reservation borders. Fond du Lac was a leader in that, taking control of its health clinics, its schools. Those homes do sit on tribal trust land, so that much like Minnesota Power lease land, the land can never be sold, but the house upon it can. That actually created housing difficulties, continues to create housing difficulties for us, because there's a lack of lenders that are willing to offer Native people mortgages on Indian land. They figured out how to do it for people at Pike Lake, Island Lake, and everywhere else, but they haven't figured out exactly how to do it on tribal trust land.
And at 3 p.m.
And I know that there are concerns around, everything from child welfare to policing to courts, etc. And some would perceive that as a need for Fond du Lac to step up to the plate. We don't have state jurisdiction of the courts. When they passed Public Law 280, the state of Minnesota opted into policing on reservations. They could have chose not to do that. In fact, less states are Public Law 280 than those that are. Had the state not opted to do that, the feds would still have Bureau of Indian Affairs police here. In fact, Boys Fort retroceded, meaning that they gave up state jurisdiction and the BIA had to send in policing for them. Right now, Fond du Lac pays 100% of its personnel costs for its police force. But actually, we're actually interested in fixing a lot of our roads. We just got a big chunk of stimulus money. We're actively trying to work in partnership. Frankly, Stony Brook refused to participate in inventorying any of their roads. It was no skin off their nose. They just let us count their roads. We would have got a greater allocation on an annual basis. They refused. We were willing to put $800 grand into Bellage Road. That would be Breveter Township, my township. They refused to let us do a total reconstruct of that road. A kid got killed there a year before last, got hit by a car coming over a hill. He got dragged and crushed. We wanted to take down the hills, put in culverts, curbing, asphalt. Breveter refused. They're letting us take down the hills. They left $650,000 of road work on the table. So we want to contribute where we can and where we have those resources. Not always as easy to give away free money as I thought. Well, the state law is residential have right of first refusal. There's no net tax loss for any of the jurisdictions. It's in tax forfeiture right now.
What
What should be noted is this isn't Fond du Lac's land. It's the federal government's land. It is being held in trust on behalf of the Fond du Lac family.
what the
advantage is just shy of 900,000 acres of tax forfeited land. The federal government gives us credit for 842,000 acres of federal land and another 660 to 65,000 acres is DNR land. So you can see there's a huge amount of land in the area, but it's chunked up pretty well and has a fairly sizable impact on the tax base.
Well, that's the problem though, is our land's chunked up too, and ours
We
is less
understand.
statistically
Yes.
significant than yours, however.
In fact, when we look at the land that is inside the both boundaries that are on our maps of the reservation, your land does not look uniquely different than ours does.
So is there a question somewhere in there, or do you want me to respond
No,
to all of
not
it?
at all.
Okay.
In this case, I'm making a presentation similar to the one that you did.
Okay.
And so, from our perspective, or at least my perspective as we've been moving forward, we're trying to figure out from our perspective how you can best keep that tax base at a reasonable number.
I don't know how we get in commingled with what the DNR is doing in the federal government, but that's neither here nor there where we're concerned. We have no control over what those entities are called. Resource man. I guess it's a little disconcerting, to have our land issues because a problem that needs to be resolved. We've been buying swampland because of habitat. There's not a big market for that. There's not as much taxes of that either. But it's ours. It used to belong to us. It should have still belonged to us. So the argument about tax bases, I would say, is it never should have been on your tax rolls in the first place. I would consider it a gift that you got 100 years of taxes off of it, because it was Fond du Lac's and it should have stayed Fond du Lac's, and we'll reclaim it, and we will pay taxes on it until it goes into trust.
I don't see our issues from the standpoint of what is our goal uniquely different than what you stated. Any one of the commissioners around the table could have done exactly the same speech you did as it relates to our social, economic, and
Then why aren't they
environmental
making the
development.
same speeches, Commissioner Fink?
We are. I have a problem with it moving from one non-tax status to another tax status, because the goal behind tax forfeited land when you sell it is to put it back on the tax rolls. It's an important issue to me. Yeah.
I am hopeful that the dialogue that we started here today is one that will continue. I am very hopeful that it's one that will continue throughout your various staff with our department heads. I am very pleased to see department heads here today, because as we serve our community, not yours, not mine, but our community, in the future, we are going to have to work as one on many, many of these issues. I will not apologize for those federal officials of the past that treated us as children. I cannot apologize for that. I was so concerned with the number that glared at me as I looked at the statistics of regional corrections. The fact that 4% of our population in St. Louis County, being of Native American descent, would constitute 35+% of those incarcerated within our system. I looked at that, one, from a cultural aspect, but two, from a cost aspect, because that's what we as elected officials have to do. A year and a half.
How about my neck of the woods next time?
As long as we continue to go back and forth, the answer would be yes.
I also happen to have a golf course.
There you go. Now you've got Commissioner Finks here, okay?
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.